Yo, when I tell you white people trying to speak AAVE is just the most blasphemous thing I've ever come across. I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not even trying to prove a point about, oh, let's gatekeep, let's keep them out. No, I mean, like, y'all be trying to be in the mix, but I mean, as hard as you try, you could never sit with us because y'all, look at this comment. Look at this comment, okay? It said, Sienna May can do whatever she want. I don't gonna snitch. Like, what, bro? What, bro? Like, let's get into this. Now, let me be real with y'all. I'm not going to explain why this is wrong because I don't want you to be right. I want you to continue to be out here looking bold so I can laugh at you, okay? Honestly, okay? It's not my intention to guide you or to put you on the correct path. I want you to veer into a volcano and fall to your demise, okay? So let's be very clear with my intentions here. My intention is not to help you. It is to hurt you by making fun of you. Ha ha, look at you. You look stupid, right? So I'm not going to explain why this is wrong because you know good and well they're watching this video and they're taking notes. So they can say, well, golly gee, next time I'll say my dog diggity, that's that home slice. You know good and well they're watching this video and they're taking notes, okay? So I'm not going to explain why it's wrong. I'm just going to say, yo, what? Like, huh? I'm sure every African-American just read that, listened to that and was like, yo, that does not even make any sense. Oh my goodness. Let's get into the very real, very rich dialect that AAVE is. Chile, I'm lost. And just so y'all know, Chile is me making fun of how when we were saying, woo, child, they read it as Chile or Chile, like the country or whatever. And they was just saying stuff. So when y'all hear me saying that in my videos, I'm mocking them. But anyway, okay, so my point, y'all. Yo, what is this? What these sheep? I can't get jiggy with these sheep. Like, yo, like it's flabbergasted to me because, okay, let me explain being African-American real quick. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, one of the blackest cities in America, right? Let me tell you right now, I went to Detroit public schools my whole life. We did not learn AAVE in English class in school. There was never a time we sat down and we learned the rules of AAVE. That was not a thing. We learned AAVE by speaking it to each other. Because in English, at least back then, because to be fair, nowadays AAVE is regarded with more respect. It's viewed as its own dialect, with rules and stuff. But back then it was called ebonics. It was just, oh yeah, you just dumb, you can't speak proper English, whatever, right? So if you used AAVE in English class, you would get marked down, right? So this is something we learn by talking to each other, talking to our families, etc., etc., etc. That being said, honestly, I couldn't sit here and tell you the rules of AAVE if I tried because nobody ever sat down and taught me the rules of it, right? But you just know because it's like you just know how to speak it because you always spoke it. And it's like, this, baby, this ain't it. This is the interesting thing though, right? I never noticed this until college because in college I took a class on like language development and stuff, and that was the first time I actually studied AAVE in an academic setting, right? I never realized until I was well into adulthood that I read and write in white people English, but I speak in AAVE, right? And duh, clearly I always knew I spoke ebonics, right? But I never knew that my brain was wired to read and write only in white people English, right? And it makes sense because in America, everything is written in white people English. Everything. Like, I love to read. Every book is written in standard white people English, right? So you're not going to grow up reading books in AAVE. And when I first noticed this, like I said, I was in college. I was taking this class on language development. And we got to the unit about AAVE, right? And the teacher put something on the screen. I'm going to show you guys what she put on the screen, right? And when I read it in my head, because this was an online class, even before COVID, like some classes was online, right? When I read it in my head, I was like, yo, what? I was like, this don't make no goddamn sense. So again, this class is online, right? So I read it in my head. I'm like, what the fuck, right? So I pulled my phone out and I started recording on Snapchat. Of course, I got myself muted so they don't hear me in the class and everything. And I'm cutting up on Snapchat. I was like, look at this shit. I'm like, yo, this teacher put this dumb shit up on the board talking about, yeah, this is ebonics. This is how black people talk. I was like, we don't fucking talk like this. And then I read the sentence aloud, right? I was like, we don't fucking talk like this. Don't nothing be wrong with the way I be talking. And I was like, hold up. I was like, hold up. Wait a second. That sounded normal coming out of my mouth, but when I read it, it didn't make any sense. And that's when it clicked to me. In my mind, I read like a white person because all of the literature in the United States is written in white people English, right? So I read like a white person, but I talk like a black person. This experience highlighted something to me, right? White people don't just read and write in standard English the way that black Americans are socialized to, right? They also speak in standard white people English, okay? So when they read something, they write something, or they speak something, it all comes out in white people English, right? And this is the thing. There is this prevalent attitude that AAVE or ebonics or whatever is just something uneducated people speak because they're not smart enough to grasp the rules of the English language, so and so and so, yada, 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 right? So these people refuse to acknowledge the rules and the complexities of AAVE. So instead, they take the rules of standard English and apply it to AAVE, and it doesn't make no damn sense. The same way when I read that sentence in my head and I used the rules of white people English, I was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense, right? That's how they interpret all AAVE, because they can't speak it or anything, right? So there's no way they can go about correcting any misconception the way that I was able to. Let me give y'all an example, actually. Y'all know I can halfway speak French. And that's another story for another day, because I've been halfway learning French for 100 years, but I don't think I'm ever going to be fluent in it until I go to Canada or France or something and I can practice speaking it, because it's just a mess, okay? But anyway, in English, when we describe something, we put the adjective and then we put the noun, right? So you would say, oh, the red dress, right? On the other hand, in French, they have it switched around. They put the noun and then the adjective. So they say the dress red, okay? Now imagine if I started learning French and I said, oh, this is barely a real language. I'm just going to apply the rules of English to it, right? So I started speaking French with the rules of English. It wouldn't make no damn sense. All the French people would be looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense, right? Now, let's get back to English and AAVE. This is what white people do to AAVE all the time. They're like, oh, there's no rules to this. I'm just going to speak it with the rules of standard white people English. Then they say some random shit, and it's like, what? Look, we can't even call this shit y'all attempting to speak AAVE, because that's just, it's a hate crime. It's disrespectful to all African Americans everywhere. We're going to have to call that shit that y'all talking KAVE, because that's what y'all speaking to K's. We don't talk that shit, okay? So first of all, let's get that out the way. And then let's talk about something else. I don't like how y'all like to rebrand everything African American as something for everybody, right? Because there's been this attempted rebranding of AAVE into internet lingo. I be seeing white people from Russia, Germany, whatever, speaking AAVE on the internet. And I just be like, what is going on, right? And then every time I check them about it, they be like, oh, I'm sorry. I learned to speak English on the internet, and this is what I saw. It's crazy how AAVE is regarded as low-level English. Oh, you uneducated if you speak AAVE. That's what people who can't grasp standard English speak, right? But to everybody in the world, it's viewed as the English. When they on the internet trying to learn how to speak English, they're picking up little tidbits of ebonics and shit. Like, what? It's so crazy to me how every aspect of blackness, specifically African Americanness, but blackness in general, right? Every aspect of our culture is deemed as negative on us, but then y'all turn around and y'all hijack it. So you telling me when I, as an African American, speak African American vernacular English, I'm uneducated and I'm ghetto and I'm just not smart enough to grasp standard English and so and so and so. But when your goofball turn around and try to speak it and speak it wrong, okay? It's just, oh, this is internet lingo. This is slang, so and so and so, whatever, whatever, whatever. It's so peculiar to me how everything African American is negative on actual African Americans, but then the rest of y'all turn around and steal all of that shit. Somebody make that make sense for me.